Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you get notified when I release new videos, new tutorials, and yarn giveaways. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this lovely open shell picket stitch pattern. So let's go ahead. As you see here, it is very lovely and open. It would be great for a bag, for a summer or spring top, or a vest. So I do have a pattern coming out with one of these items on Friday, so make sure you tune in for that. But let's go ahead and take a look at how to do this beautiful stitch. So to practice this stitch, the yarn and the hook size are not important, but if you are wondering what I am using the Gazelle Extra Large Baby Cotton yarn, and I am using an I 5.25mm crochet hook. So to begin, we want to work this pattern in a multiple of 7 plus 1 as our turning chain. So to begin, just to work up this swatch, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chain, let's see here, let's go ahead with 21 stitches. So go ahead and chain 21 stitches, which will be your multiple of 7, and then we want to chain up 1, so then we will have a total of 22. Go ahead and make 22 chain stitches and I will meet you back here. Okay guys, so I went ahead and chained 22 stitches. So again, we want to do multiples of 7 plus 1 more chain at the very end for our turning. So to explain that, we are going to be skipping the first stitch and working into the next stitch. So that is why we do an extra chain. So to begin this stitch pattern, again, we are going to skip that first stitch, and into the next stitch, we are going to simply work 1 single crochet. We are going to skip the next 2 chains, and into the third chain from our hook, we are going to work a double crochet. We will then chain 1, and into that same space, we are going to work another double crochet. We are then going to chain up 1 and work 1 more double crochet back into that same space. Okay, and after we do that, we are going to skip 2 stitches. Into the third stitch, we are going to make a single crochet. We are going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. We are not going to skip, but we're not going to work back into that same space, but into the very next stitch, we are going to make a single crochet. So this right here is going to work as our picket, and here's our open shell stitch. So moving on, we want to go ahead and make another shell stitch. So we're going to skip 2 stitches, and into the third stitch we are going to make a double crochet, just like that. Chain up 1, work another double crochet back into that same space, chain 1, and work the last double crochet back into the same space. So we're just going to continue this all the way to the other end. So we're going to skip 2 stitches, and into the third stitch we're going to make a single crochet, chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and into the very next stitch we're going to make 1 more single crochet, skip 2 stitches, and into the third stitch we are going to work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, so for a total of 3. So here's the first one. Here is my second double crochet into that same space. We're going to chain up 1 again, work 1 more and your final double crochet into that same space. So you should have a total of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Skip 2 spaces, and into the very last space we are simply going to work a single crochet. Just like that. Okay, so there you see we have our shell stitch, our picket stitch, a shell stitch, a picket stitch, and a shell stitch. Let's go ahead and move on to round 2 of this beautiful open shell pattern. Okay, so to move on to round 2, we are going to chain up 6 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is going to count as a treble crochet, chain 2. So now we're going to turn our work. And here we see the double crochets of the previous row that we made for our shell stitches. So not into the first, not into the chain space, but into the second double crochet in that shell stitch. We are going to work a single crochet. We are then going to chain up 3 and back into the top of that double crochet. We are going to work another single crochet. So there's our picket stitch for this row. Now we want to chain 2, and we are going to work our way into the previous picket space right here where we chained 3. So into that chain 3 space where we made the picket stitch. So you see we have the single stitch, single crochet, the chain 3, and single crochet. So we are actually going to work our open shell stitch in there. So work a double crochet. We are going to chain up 1, and into that same chain 3 space, we're going to work another double crochet, chain 1, chain 1, and back into that space, we are going to work another double crochet. So now that we have worked our open shell stitch, we are going to chain up 2. So this is going to be in between our stitches. We're going to work another picket stitch. So not into the first double crochet, but into the second double crochet of our next shell stitch. We are going to work a single crochet. We're going to chain up 3. Into that same space, we are going to work another single crochet. So now we have our picket stitch on top of that chain 3 space, or excuse me, on top of the double crochet. So now we're going to chain up 2, and into the next chain 3 space, you see we have the single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. We're going to work our open shell stitch. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into the space, chain 1, 1 double crochet into that space again, chain 1, and work another double crochet back into that same space. So now we're going to make another picket into the last shell stitch. So we're going to chain up 2, and not into the first, not into the second, or excuse me, not into the first double crochet, but into the second double crochet of the previous shell stitch. We're going to work a single crochet. We are going to chain up 3 and work 1 more single crochet back into that same space. So as you see, we have a picket, an open shell stitch, a picket, open shell, a final picket. And then we have another double crochet space right here, and we have a single crochet space right there. So what we actually want to do is wrap our yarn around our hook twice, and into that last stitch we are going to work a triple crochet. So go in, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2 more. Okay? So the rest of this pattern is going to be a repeat of rows 2 and 3. So I just showed you row 2, so now let's go ahead and take a look at row 3. So after you make your treble crochet, triple crochet, you're going to go ahead and chain up 1 and turn your work. Now back on top of your treble crochet or your triple crochet, you go ahead and work a single crochet. So this will be the beginning of round 3 for every single time. So now we are simply going to work a open shell stitch on top of this picket stitch right here. So we're going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet, chain up 1. You're going to make another double crochet, chain up 1, 1 more double crochet into that same space, just like that. And now we are not going to chain, and we are simply going to skip the chain 2 spaces that we made at the previous row. So we are just going to skip over all of this. So we are not going to work into the single crochet or the chain 2 spaces. Now we want to work a picket stitch on top of the shell stitch. So into the middle of the chain 3, we want to go ahead and make a single crochet, chain up 3, and then single crochet back into that same double crochet space and make that picket stitch. Okay, so shell stitch, picket stitch. We are not chaining 2 in between this round. We are simply going to move on and do a double crochet into the previous picket stitch, chain up 1, double crochet back into that same picket stitch, chain up 1, and make the last double crochet into that picket stitch. Okay, so skipping over all of this, skipping over the single crochet and the chain 2, not into the first double crochet but into the second double crochet of the shell stitch, we are going to make a single crochet. So now we're working our picket. We're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and single crochet back into that same space. So remember, we are not chaining 2 in between, so we're going to go ahead and work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into that same picket stitch. And that is round 3. So to end the row, we are simply going to work a single crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook, so 1, 2, and 3, or you can count up 3 stitches, whichever works best for you, but we want to end with a single crochet. And there you have it, guys. That is the stitch pattern. So if you wanted to, I'm going to show you each of these rows one more time, or you can rewind the video, whichever you prefer. So to turn, we are going to chain up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Turn our work. Okay. So remember, basically what we're doing in the middle of the shell stitches, we are working a picket stitch. In the picket stitch, we're working a shell stitch, so on and so forth as we go through. So alternating each rows, we are going to be chaining 2 in between, and then the next row we will not chain 2 in between. So now that I have chained 6, this is going to count as a triple crochet and a chain 2. So now what I want to do is I want to go into the middle of that shell stitch, and I'm going to work a single crochet, chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and work another single crochet back into that. So now I want to chain 2, because we're chaining 2 in between our shell stitches and our picket stitches. And on top of the previous picket stitch, we're going to work our open shell stitch. So we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And since we are doing the chain 2 in between, we are going to go ahead and look for the 3rd double crochet in the shell stitch, and we're going to work a single crochet, chain up 3, single crochet back into that same stitch, chain up 2. So the chain up 3 is where the picket stitch is going to be, and the chain 2 is just the space in between. We're never going to be working into there. So now we're going to move on and make another open shell stitch. So we are going to do that, chain up 2, and then this stitch right here, we are going to do a single crochet, chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, work a single crochet back into that stitch, chain up 2, and to end this row we are going to work a triple crochet into the last stitch. So you see we have, here's our first 2 and 3 double crochets, and then we have this right here, which was the single crochet. So we're going to go right into there, go through 2, go through 2, and go through 2. So now we're going to chain up 1 and single crochet right back on top of that triple crochet. So when we come back to this side, that's where we're going to be working. And so on and so forth. So that for the next row, we are not going to be doing the chain 2 in between. So we're simply going to work back into the next picket stitch, and we are going to work an open shell stitch. So at the end of working our open shell, we are not going to chain 2, we are simply going to go into the top of the chain 3 and work the picket. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial on how to make this open shell picket stitch pattern. And please make sure to tune in on Friday or take a look at the description box down below, and I will have a video linked for a tutorial with a shirt using this beautiful mesh pattern. Thank you so much, you guys. Make sure you are subscribed with that notification bell hit so you can learn everything you can about crochet.